Draw my life. Ruth.
Ruth is the 8th book of the Bible and follows after the book of Judges. It has 4 chapters, 85 verses, and 2,578 words. The author is unknown, and the time it is said to have taken place is Judges.
Unlike other biblical stories in which they normally take place in Jerusalem, this story begins in Moab and ends in Bethlehem. Moab is located east of the Dead Sea and is adjacent from Judah.
Bethlehem was facing famine, and many families began to migrate to other kingdoms in search for sustainability. A family of 4, consisting of a married couple, Naomi and Elimelech, and their 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, decided to move to Moab temporarily.
Soon after arriving in Moab, Elimelech died, and the 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, were left to take care of Naomi. They both found Moabite wives, Ruth and Orpah. 10 years later, they both died, and Naomi was left without anyone to take care of her.
Judah had recovered from famine by that time, and Naomi made the decision to return home. Her daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah, wanted to join her, but she told them to go back to their mothers because she could no longer take care of them. Although Orpah followed her directions, Ruth refused to leave Naomi alone and followed her to Bethlehem.
Naomi and Ruth arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. Once they arrived, Naomi then took the name Mara, which means bitter. She was sad that she had lost her whole family. Ruth then had to take the role as a provider for the 2 of them.
Ruth decided to harvest grain in the barley fields after the workers had gone through it, which was a common practice among the poor. Coincidentally, the field that she had chosen to harvest was from one owned by Elimelech's relative, Boaz. He saw her in the fields and thought she was attractive, and decided to approach her. He offered her to stay in his field all season instead of jumping from property to property and drink the same water as the workers. Ruth then expressed her gratitude and asked why he was so nice to a foreigner. He then explained how he heard that she was taking care of Naomi and how she had left her home in order to do so.
Boaz invited her to stay for dinner, and Ruth stuffed herself with bread and wine. After the meal, Ruth returned home to Naomi with a large amount of barley and told her of Boaz's generosity. Naomi instantly recognized the name as Elimelech's relative and realized he was a guardian redeemer. That meant that Boaz could keep their family line alive since Elimelech had died.
Naomi told Ruth that she needed security in her life and that she should put on her best clothes and return to the fields when she knew Boaz was working. She was meant to lay next to him when he was laying down, and when she saw him falling asleep on the threshing floor, she lay next to him. When he woke up, Ruth expressed her interest in him, and he was happy that she chose him over the young bachelors. Boaz recognized her loyalty and was ready to marry her.
Boaz explained to Ruth that although he was the guardian redeemer for the family, there was someone in line before him, and he told her that he would go visit him and ask him if he wanted to marry her instead. When Boaz went to the other redeemer, he declined because although he wanted a new land, he would have to take the role as a husband and father to a Moabite. That meant Boaz was now free to marry Ruth.
Ruth and Boaz get married and have a son. They decided to name him Obed. Naomi was happy because she felt that God had redeemed her life by providing her a new family. Obed goes on to be the grandfather of King David. The end.